So we're gonna try this one more time because I apparently said something that TT did not appreciate. So I am going to provide my review for A Tender is the Flesh. And I ended up borrowing the ebook version of it through my Libby app. I ended up adding it to the journal. Now, there are certain key points that I would like to break down and remember when it comes to certain reads. And not every book I annotate. But this book, the way Agustina delivered the premises of this book and the overall storyline development, the execution, contradiction after contradiction, societal norm, what's accepted, what excuses are made, where there is literally people or a person could be have a stance on something, but when it's beneficial for them or when the government or the media steps in, then there's an exception to the rule. There are excuses. And in this book, the phases that I experiencing the Reed and Marcos as the main character, it was executed in a way that I understood. And at one point, I was rooting for Marcos. And I'm going to put right here the 3 pieces of shit that when I tell you horrific characters that made justifications for listen, I'm entitled to it because it's entertainment. I'm entitled to it because the resources are available. I'm entitled to it because it's for the survival of the world, for people, for mankind. Hence the doctor. And then for me as the reader to experience all the way to the end that, my God, I was rooting for you, Marco. I was rooting for you, motherfucker. But then you ended up being on top of the motherfucking list. On top of the motherfucking list. The metaphoric writing was so well written. The book was well written. It's to the point that like with any situation where something is presented to the world, to society, from a government, from media, there are different sides to the argument. And one may be perceived the truth, and the other one may be perceived as, misguided information, false information. Don't believe that because we have the best interest of you. There's terms like product, transition, and being at the bottom of the food chain. When inside a story, there's a virus that you get from animals. So it's all animals. There's no exceptions. And there's an extermination of some sorts that occurs. And there's developments that are occurring without like, I will say, proper thought, but then it was a transition that was implemented. People picked because of certain circumstances, and then after that phase of some of the horrific things that occurred in the book, it was the phase of how do we keep the product going? How do we construct it to the point that it ends up being a part of the meat industry? And if you could, because I have to be mindful for, with the words that I choose because of TT, but when you read the synopsis, the read is so much deeper because you have people who, if you think about it, like, for example, the sport of the hunt. So if animals are no longer available for the sport of the hunt, entertainment for humans, who and what takes place of that? Because they need the entertainment. They thrive on the hunt. And then the contradiction, It's contradiction on contradiction throughout this read, but it made so much sense. Even at the end, there was something that stood out so much, and if you read it, you will understand. If you're going to dive into it and then you come across it, you will understand. She had the human look of a domesticated animal. Then the emotions and the backstory behind the zoo. Because at first I was like, motherfucker, you playing with, why the fuck you keep on going back to the zoo? But you will understand towards the end why. But the ending, as the reader, it hit me, and I was like, but I understood it. This book was so well written. I know there's a mix of reviews and everything, but if you take out the time to really go into depth of what I feel as though, in my reader opinion, what Agustina was trying to deliver as a messages in society through government, sometimes we make the biggest excuses for things that at one point in time we will never ever consider. But my God, the gray areas that pop out and the excuses that we make, all for the sake of mankind. And because countries, the world is overpopulated, we need to control the crisis that is occurring. And then what and who is selected, and then the rules and the laws behind how that is constructed and then put forward and implemented. It was such a great read that I'm like, and realistically, unfortunately, I could see it happening. I could definitely see it happening, down to the scavengers. Remember scavengers? Down to what is described and expressed through introducing these particular characters into the story. And they all were the biggest piece of shit. And unfortunately, although my heart went out to Marcos, and I agreed with Marcos on so many levels, and I thought we were here, Marcos, you ended up being on the top of that motherfucking list. 5 stars. 5 stars. If you read it, let me know what you thought about it. Even if it does not, listen, we don't have to be on the same page about it. Let's have a conversation. What did you get from it? Was it mad, or was it like, I understand, April, because this is what I got from it? Because it was so well written. So well written. I can't wait to have it on my shelf. And I'm not going to annotate it because it made it to the journal, y'all. And I will talk to you guys later. You guys have a great day. Bye.